Hello, hello, and welcome back to Novusphere Community Update. It's been a while. It's been, everyone's off kind of on the vacations, but we're all back now working on a project, and we just finished the September 1st swap deadline. So Asphyxia is going to give us rundown on that, what happened with the tokens, and I'm gonna give a general update about the project direction and how we gotta move on from the old chain on to EOS chain and the future. And then finally, Paul's gonna give us a general business roundup of the Atmos token. So Asphyxia.
Sure. So as Jack just said, we just finished the swap over from the old chain to EOS, the EOS token. Um, Now we still have a about 18.9 million tokens remaining. So that means roughly that 18.9% of the supply was not swapped over. So we've previously estimated that about 10% of that is Cryptopia. And so what we said was we are going to hold in reserve the 10 million for the next month and kind of see if there is any updates with Cryptopia. However, with that said, we have been monitoring the situation and trying to make progress with them over the last few months. And to say the least, we don't really particularly think that this is going to go anywhere. And we think that waiting the month is a futile effort. Albeit we previously said this is what we would do, and so we plan on continuing to commit to that. And so we'll see where it goes, but we are pessimistic to say the least about what will happen with the Cryptopia situation in the next month. Now, in regards to the remaining 8.9 million, we are planning on using that as part of a subsidy in regards to proof of stake when we launch that to early bootstrap the network. So to explain what we mean by that is since the token is non-inflationary, like many tokens aren't, we do need some early incentive to have people staking because generally speaking on a network, the incentive to stake or to mine comes from either fees and a subsidy. So for example, in Bitcoin, you have a block reward plus you have the fees. So since early on, of course, there isn't any significant fees being generated by the network, a subsidy that's being paid out does help to incentivize the behavior, namely staking, that we would like to see early on. And so staking is something that we plan to be launching very similarly parallel with Discussions 2.0, which is currently work in progress. Um, Paul, do you want to talk a little bit about that, or should I keep rambling about discussions?
I'll go after Jack. So once he gets through his piece, so I would just finish out what you've got going on. We can.
Yeah, sure. So I'll just continue a little bit on that. So we're very close to be launching the beta for 2.0. There has been a little bit of a slowdown in development, but it is coming along, and we're very close to being able to put out a fairly good product that I think improves one on 1.0 and what we're doing with that. And as well, prior to launching the beta, we'll be putting out the Discussions 2.0 white paper, which is a very important document actually for the project, for what we have upcoming and what's not planned.
Well, before we get to that, I want to bring up we had an internal discussion about whether or not we should consider burning some of the tokens. Do you want to clarify that to our listeners?
Yeah, so to us at this point in time, it doesn't really seem like it makes much sense to burn the tokens, since we do, from our observation at this point, burning the tokens will have no significant impact on the price, as well as it makes more sense, we feel, to find meaningful ways to redistribute these tokens back to the community. After all, these are the community's tokens in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so at this point in time, like I said, the subsidy or any like type of rewards that are planned for the community are basically coming from that pool of 8.9, and the 10 will be kept separately. However, once the Cryptopia date after a month has passed and the 10 is in play, then we will revisit the discussion of potentially burning all or some of that. Again, this will be an ongoing discussion with the community, and we'll be eager to hear feedback on this stuff.
Very cool, very cool. Okay, so I'm just gonna take over a little bit from there. I'm just gonna talk a little bit about the direction of the project we're taking, especially with Discussion 2.0 coming out, the beta coming out. So with Discussion 2.0, we're taking a lot of things we learned from doing AMAs and hosting different communities on Discussions that app, and really learning about what they need. With 2.0, we designed both the front end, but also we wrote the code for the back end. So right now, the Discussions 2.0 smart contract is multi-chain. What that means is that we could very easily deploy on multiple EOS sister chains. And in the future, obviously, our goal is to deploy on as, I wouldn't say as many blockchains as possible, but as it makes sense. Obviously, Bitcoin, Ethereum are the two, and maybe Tron if there's there enough demand from people from that blockchain. So really setting ourselves up for being a unified blockchain community platform. And with that, we're working with our existing partners in the EOS ecosystem with projects, but also block producers to really push Discussions 2.0 when it's ready for public use. And in that process, part of that process is getting our white paper done, which is what Paul's going to talk about in just a bit. So yeah, that's what we have going on for the project for now. And Paul, do you want to take over?
Sure. So are we going to link to some of the mock-ups that we have for showing to the desktop again, just so people have that on reference? Oh yeah, cool. All right. Yeah. So a couple things. So one of the big things we needed to get sorted out was, figuring out the direction we wanted to take the project. The relaunch of Discussions 2.0 is sort of the example of kind of that, of those decisions. Obviously, a focus on user experience, a focus on making a system where anyone can use it and they don't have the sort of second class citizen feel if they don't happen to have an EOS account. We want to, essentially make the platform universal and with as small barrier to entry as possible. So that's always been our goal, and I think it's been made much more clear with some of the work that you'll see in these mock-ups that Jack just linked. So the Discussions 2.0 white paper is something that we've been working on over the past couple months, and it's the idea is that we want to succinctly explain the project and point out why it's necessary and how Atmos is going to play within the ecosystem. So that process has been ongoing, as I said, and we're pretty close to having a draft to share with the community. One of the main reasons why we need this revised white paper is to be able to communicate clearly with exchanges. So we've had a lot of lines of communication to open with several exchanges. We kind of have a two-port system where we're gonna try to get ourselves listed on a good top 50 exchange that will get us a BTC pair. I think that's like an important thing to have back since we lost Cryptopia. And that's just a stepping stone in our mind. And so we have found a few that have relatively, they're good volume exchanges, and they have, fairly reasonable fees, and they're interested in listing us. So we, at this point, it's just a matter of having that white paper, because we want to have this sort of marketing push at the same time. And then the sort of next phase would be, once we have a stable BTC pair to trade against, we have some longer term plans, and we have discussed this in the past that one of our goals is to get listed on Bittrex International. That has some hoops to jump through. There's no listing fee with Bittrex, but it is they have to like what they see. So it's a bit more of a tricky dance to go through. So that is something that we're going to push for. But that obviously unlocks a lot of possibilities. Once you're listed at Bittrex, there's a little bit more prestige to that. And then getting on to the regular Bittrex platform becomes a whole lot easier, as well as getting on some of the more major exchanges. So that's sort of the kind of roadmap with exchange listings. And so as the white paper is ready, we will be ready to take the plunge in getting us a new exchange. Let's see if there's anything else I wanted to mention. I think that's sort of where we're at with that. I mean, it's Brian's been doing a lot of work on this, a lot of the outreach. So I think we've gotten to a place where I feel pretty comfortable that we have options.
Well, I can't disclose too much, but from the internal discussions we have a few top exchanges that if we throw out their name, you guys will recognize them. So that's very exciting. We finally closed our chapter on the OER's chain, and now we could kind of focus our energy on this, on the new discussions 2.0 and the direction we're taking. Again, this white paper that's coming out is specific to discussions 2.0. So our thinking is, we as the Atmos team is developing, we as the Novusphere team is developing this Atmos technology. And on top of this Atmos technology is where we build our products, and Discussions 2.0 being one of the first ones. So the original intent of making Atmos a anonymous currency is still there. It's just that we're building products that are more user focused and user facing on top of that. Just to make it a little bit more useful and make it a little bit more user friendly, because at the end of the day, if you have a easy to use user interface, people are gonna have a hard time using it, and therefore it's gonna stop the people. It will not be adopted as quickly as it would. So with that, do we have anything else to add? Okay, that's my love. Okay, see you guys. Next week.
Yeah, take care.
See ya.